I'm so predictable. And maybe one day I'll learn my lesson, but again, I bought a slab online and it turned out to be junk. When I saw it posted online, it looked like a rather large, uniquely shaped cherry burl slab. And something about the shape really drew me to this piece, but I can't quite wrap my hands around what that was. So my mission here is to turn this trash, junky slab into something that I can sell for thousands of dollars. Now, I'll let the aesthetics of the slab dictate my design decisions, but that might be harder than what I realize. I don't know. We'll see. This junk slab is covered in bark inclusions, burl nubs, and all manner of bumps, but I assure you this is normal for burl wood, but it's best to go ahead and get these all removed. I only have 1 inch of thickness to work with, so I have to make this count. And this is gonna force me to be creative with how I use my wood. When it comes to design, I don't think it's the size of the piece that matters, but rather the technique and the style of the work that you put into it. And something that's gonna leave the customer truly satisfied. And speaking of customer, I don't have one. Normally, I just do this for myself, but my goal is to take this junk wood and turn it into something that I can sell for thousands of dollars. And to test that, I'm gonna post this build to eBay with no reserve. But what do y'all think? Can I sell this for a decent profit, or will I get stuck holding my own junk? For the epoxy pour, I'm gonna try something that I've never tried before, and that's use one of these no-seal forms. This is 18 by 36, and then what I'm gonna do, since the slab is only 1 inch thick, I thought it was thicker, since it's only 1 inch thick, I'm gonna do a base pour of epoxy because I want the table to finish at somewhere between 1.5 inches to 1.25 inches thick. So that's what I gotta do, clean the form, and then we'll do our first base pour of epoxy. You don't wanna stick your wood in anything dirty, you know? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's a bucket. Okay, I'm gonna use some Total Boat Thick Set. This is one of my favorite epoxies. 3 parts, part A, and then 1 part B. This stuff is like water. Set a timer for 5 minutes. And make sure you're using protection when you're working with this stuff. It's always good to use protection, as you know. I've done it without protection before. It didn't go well. Get ready for the most satisfying epoxy pour you've ever seen. Okay, now I definitely have a technique to how I do this. I like to start at the base and then work my way up the shaft. Make sure you get the tip really good. It's very important to get the tip. You don't want anything seeping in there. It is the next morning. Had a good 12 hours more to cure. Still a little bit tacky. So it's the perfect time to put the slab down in here. I may have been a little premature laying the wood down since it did settle deeper than I had hoped. I probably should have waited until the epoxy was a little bit harder, but thankfully it all worked out. All right, we actually got busy working on some other things and I had to let this sit here and cure for a couple days, but it did some interesting things. One, the slab is kind of bowed up in the middle, which is a problem. Here, I'll show you. Right here, right on the tip, it is a 1/2 inch up off the surface. You go in the middle, look at the difference. 3/8 of an inch difference between there. So I've got some ideas about how I'm gonna address that. But first up, I'm gonna go ahead and do the next pour. Before I do that, obviously, I need to get in here and sand the first layer just a little bit to kind of rough up the surface and allow for good adhesion from one layer to the next. To account for the curvature of the slab, I'm gonna pour the second layer of black epoxy, but I'll leave it just a little bit shallow of the lowest spot, and then later I can hide the height difference with the final flood coats. I actually considered doing white epoxy here, but I think black epoxy is the right move. The black epoxy just fits the overall aesthetic that I'm aiming for, and I think white would have made the slab look more like it was floating in a bowl of milk. I've got my little awl here, or pick, and I'm gonna take some of this epoxy and very subtly start like working it into the black. This technique left a very subtle swirl that helps to break up the space around the slab and give the piece some needed depth. While that epoxy cures, I can start working on the base of this coffee table, so it's off to my local hardwood dealer to pick up some lumber. Now, I was hoping to get my hands on some ash. In fact, I would have paid top dollar for some nice thick ash, but they were completely out, forcing me to settle for this old standby red oak. Now, anyone who's used red oak knows it smells terrible when you rip into it, but it looks fairly decent, so I guess I'll just have to make do. While I'm getting the wood cut to size, let's take a minute to talk about the design. My plan is to make the cherry slab the center of the whole piece with the black epoxy surrounding it. And I really think that's gonna make the cherry pop, almost like I'm putting this wood up on a pedestal. For the base of the coffee table, I went through several design iterations, including this split leg design, but I asked my wife what she thought about it, and for her, it was a hard pass. I did come up with this variation that's more of a heavy round base that pairs well with how the top will get laid onto it. First up, I need to glue up a few panels that are going to serve as the top and the lower shelf of the base. The coffee table base curves outward at the ends, and they're connected with 7 rods on either side, and I'm going to cut these out over on my CNC Owen Wilson. Wow. Wow. While I'm cutting the remaining pieces of this base, I want to take a second to thank you all for your support. Seriously, y'all are amazing, and every day I get to do my dream job thanks to you. So if you like what you see and my corny dad jokes, please consider gently caressing the subscribe button and flicking the bell to make sure you get notified of all my future videos. That's seriously the best thing you can do to support what I do. And I'm excited to announce I launched 2 new YouTube channels. You can find newly edited, no talking versions of my old videos on the channel Shut Up and Build. And if you're into short form videos, I've got a whole YouTube channel with nothing but shorts called Johnny Builds Shorts. Not very original, I know. Right now, I'm running a contest on both these channels where the winner will get a free Johnny Builds t-shirt. All you have to do is subscribe to either channel and comment something, I don't know, we'll say aardvark on any one of those videos. I'll pick 2 winners at random and ship a Johnny Builds shirt to you no matter where you are in the world. Okay, back to the build, and I need to cut a slot in the base stretchers so I can slide in the panels that I cut earlier. This slot is called a rabbet, and I have no idea why they call it that. As I cut in these domino mortises, this piece is really starting to come together, and that's got me buzzing with excitement. I'm hopeful I can sell this piece to the right person at eBay auction, and I'm looking to sell a lot more of my pieces in the future. And on that topic, I have some really exciting news. Well, exciting and super stressful. I'm moving shops again after being in this space for less than 2 years. I love this shop. I didn't want to leave, but I've outgrown the space, and this will be my 4th shop move in just over 4 years. I hate moving with a passion that I can't fully express in words, but the exciting part is that with the new shop, it's exactly what I've been looking for and gives me all the space I need to start producing more furniture pieces that I can sell. I'm not ready to fully reveal everything coming with the new space, but I will say there is one very large piece of equipment that has me especially excited and will completely change my manufacturing capabilities. I'm going to tell you guys all more about it in my upcoming videos, but for now, I'll say big things are coming. Real quick here, I want to show you my newest obsession, and that's card scrapers. Y'all know that I'm not much of a hand tool guy, but I must say there is something exceptionally satisfying about the little curlies that I'm making with this card scraper to clean up this glue joint. Not to mention, I look like a real woodworker right now.
I'm a real boy!
While I was getting these panels cut to size, an unexpected issue popped up right in our faces. So we just discovered my glue line is right there, but look at that. So this is what you do. Go ahead and break that sucker off. Definitely want a heavy amount of glue on this one so we get a good bond. Now we need to test the other one and make sure there's not a crack because it's coming from the same boards. Same thing, look at that. I'm lucky I caught that, as that could have been a bigger issue later on. Now that I fixed both panels, there's no way that can come back as an issue later on. Disaster averted. Yeah, look how red that is. It's like rust colored. I think a lot of makers overlook the base, but I say spending extra time on the base is really important for getting over that finish line. That said, I'm testing rubbing different stains on these rods to see which one is better, starting with this red color.
That looks like... What does it taste like though?
This is India ink, which is actually made from charcoal. Next, I tried rubbing on some black, but this also didn't feel right. Last, I tried some Total Gold paint from Total Boat, and I think this looks the best. So the epoxy has had a couple days to cure. It's not fully cured. As you can see, I can kind of like scuff it with my nail, so it's not fully hardened yet. What I need to do before I do my final flood coats of tabletop epoxy is I need to fully penetrate this slab. With all the burl, there's tons of tiny little pits all over the place. I'm gonna sand it down, get all the gleam varnish that I use to seal it to prevent staining. I'm gonna get that all off. Someone wrote the size, how big it is. I think they were exaggerating a little bit because it's not that big. Do a coat of penetrating epoxy, and I'll just keep doing coats of penetrating epoxy until it stops soaking in and this is fully penetrated. Oh yeah, that's really smooth now. That feels good. We're gonna use Total Boat's penetrating epoxy, and as it says right there, you get super deep penetration. When you get that deep penetration, you're gonna be really satisfied with the results. So let's penetrate this bad boy. Okay, there we go. Whoa. So I got that all mixed up. Now you can do this a couple ways. You can pour it on, you can brush it on. I like using my hand, and you're gonna wanna make sure that you get it as moist as you possibly can. I'm gonna start at the base. Notice the hand rubbing technique here. I'm not going too fast, but I am applying just enough pressure to get it right in there. Okay, so I got the pieces glued back together. From the top, I can't even tell where the break used to be. I can tell from the end because I still need to sand a little bit more of the glue, but there's where the crack was. But then, on the other panel, the initial crack was right there. You can barely see it. I can't see it all on the top. But then as I was sanding it, hello, darkness, my old friend. It did it on the other side. So I got to go through that all over again. I was definitely premature in thinking that that wouldn't happen, but you know what? I'm not embarrassed. It happens to a lot of folks. I'm still focused on the base, and before I can add stain, I need to sand everything and add a round over to the outside edges. We are going to stain this red oak with some India ink. I've sanded it up to 180 grit, water popped, and then sanded back to 180. Oh, yes. India ink is underrated as a stain in my opinion, and the best part is it's pretty inexpensive and goes really far. I'll make sure I'll drop a link for that India ink and all the other products that I use in this video down in the description below. Before I added that India ink to the top panel, I cut in a groove for some LEDs that I'll add at the end, but I think the finished piece could really use some mood lighting. As I assemble the base, I want to talk about experimentation and why I think that's a good thing. So when I was younger, I would experiment a lot more, but as I grew older, I sort of got away from it, and I want to start experimenting more again. I think this whole build is sort of an experiment where I'm trying new things that I've never tried before. And you know what? That feels really good. Now, granted, I put rods into end pieces like this on past builds, but this time I wanted to switch up the positioning by making these rods more of a feature that sticks out. Also, you can see right here, this glue up was not the easiest. I should know better than trying to fit pieces into multiple holes at once, but thankfully I was able to eventually force it in. As it all comes together, I'm digging the base design, and I can see something similar used in some of my larger pieces. Maybe something where I flip the base on its side, but again, I really like the look of the black and red oak and how that grain pattern pops through, so definitely expect to see that in some of my future projects. Sorry about my hair, folks. I'm growing it out. and this is what it looks like now, and it looks stupid. I look like a bad Christian Slater. So what I've decided, for multiple reasons. One, I don't have a ton of tabletop epoxy, and I'm still a little bit worried that I'm gonna get some bubbles. So what I'm gonna do is flood coat this with Fix-It, the same stuff that I use for the initial pour. That's gonna do a couple things for me. One, I can get an entire pour in one go. If I do have any bubbles coming up out of here, it's gonna take a couple days to cure, so that'll give those bubbles time to dissipate. It's 320 grit. It's gonna kinda scuff the surface, nothing crazy. I'm still concerned about bubbles, even though I double penetrated the slab, but with all those tiny crevices, I can't be 100% sure there still isn't air trapped in the wood. My hope is that extra long cure time of the deep pour epoxy is gonna give me ample time for that air to escape before it hardens. So this has had 3 days to cure, and it looks really, really good. Like 0 bubbles, a lot of little dust nibs, I guess, from stuff floating around the shop. So I'm gonna get it out of this mold, which is supposed to be really easy.
First I was afraid, I was petrified.
I like the thickness. It's a good thickness. Ugh. The mold has a 5-degree angle, and that allows the cured epoxy to pop out after your finish. I feel it's best to trim off this extra bit from the end. Not everyone agrees though. Some folks think it's more natural to leave this bit on the end. Personally, through my experience, I think it's a bit cleaner to snip this part off, but I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you snip it or leave it natural? Let me know down in the comments below. I'm gonna add a wooden border to the top with some more red oak, but I do have some concerns about doing this. I don't want that border to take away from the slab, and I think if I was to make the border too thick, it could definitely do that. So here I'm cutting the border back to a thinner size, which I really think is gonna help the wood appear even larger. This is a trick that I've used many times with different customers throughout the years, and it always seems to work for me, so I think it's gonna work here. Here I cut in 45-degree miters with this quick miter sled that I whipped up for this project, and I even made a whole build video on how I did it over on my Instagram. If you want to give me a follow there as well, it's @JohnnyBuilds. It's getting towards the end of the build, and there seems to be 100 little steps left to go. It's like you keep getting so close to finishing, but for some reason, you just can't get there. I stained the border with more Indie ink before attaching with some Total Boat 4-minute epoxy. You guys know that Total Boat has been a long-time sponsor of this channel. I've used a bunch of their products throughout this video because honestly, they're the most stand-up epoxy brand that I've ever worked with, and by far their epoxy cures the hardest. So use my link in the description and on the screen here to support this channel and to get a discount on all those Total Boat supplies. I let the epoxy on the border cure for a day, and I guess I was a bit too aggressive because some oozed out onto the top, which means I need to come back and sand and touch up the stain on the border. For finish, I'm gonna spray on some Total Boat Halcyon, but first I'm gonna pitch a tent to serve as my temporary spray booth. Once that finish was all dry, I came back with this N3 Nano finish that I got from Blacktail Studio, and I've gotta say, Cam, nice packaging. The great thing about the N3 Nano finish is it's compatible with any finish, and it really serves to up the sheen and the contrast, but most importantly, it adds protection. So I've got a link below if you want to check that out. Last, I wired up those LEDs for some extra mood lighting. The top gets attached with some Figure 8 fasteners, and the base needed some plants to sort of tie the whole piece together. I initially thought I could use a nice bush, but I couldn't really find anything I liked, so instead I went with something a bit more prickly. So I picked up these cacti. There, that's better. I think I'll call this table the Richard. All right, y'all, let me know what you think of this build down in the comments below. Did I nail it or did I miss the mark? Also, make sure you check out the No Reserve eBay auction to see how much this piece sells for, or even go stick your own bid in. Like I said at the beginning, I feel like I've been too predictable. I feel like I just keep coming back to the same ideas, the same techniques, the same wood over and over. I want to switch things up. I want to experiment. I want to try new things. I don't want to be predictable anymore. I want to be post-dictable. Also, I just realized I might have been pronouncing predictable wrong this whole time.